Good morning. I'm Peter Schilling from Taking Form Jade Studio. I carve jade using a blend of modern and ancient techniques. I do most of the rough carving with modern diamond abrasives, but from there I practice a technique utilized by very few modern jade carvers. I do most of the finer grinding and sanding operations with the loose grit sanding technique invented by Chinese carvers about 7,000 years ago. In this technique, rotating tools cut the jade by means of a muddy slurry of abrasive grit and water. The principle is that the grains of abrasives are swept between the moving tool and the jade, wearing away at the surface of the jade in a very gentle, controllable fashion. The tools are softer than the jade and cut the jade only by means of this abrasive slurry. One great advantage of this technique is that I can make my own tools which fit the jade surfaces I'm sanding. This makes it much easier for me to achieve the crisp, clean style of jade carving I enjoy most. Shown here are a few of my homemade tools for loose grit carving. In this demo, I'll show the final step of the loose grit carving process, 600 grit sanding. These are pendants like the one I'll be working on. Carved from very fine Siberian nephrite, they've been roughed out with diamond tools and sanded to 400 grit. In the final photo, they're coated with a purple ink that helps me see which parts I've sanded and which I haven't. I'll be working on this pendant, carved in a beautiful Siberian nephrite jade. The workstation has an adjustable speed motor mounted to the left of a tub of 600 grit silicon carbide and water. A splash shield prevents most of the mud from flying into my face. I'm sanding the concave flutes of this carving with a tool I've made from a steel ball bearing. It has the same diameter as the diamond ball burr that carved the flutes. I run it fast enough to cut rapidly, but not so fast that the mud flies off before it has a chance to do its work. It's spinning faster than it looks in this video. I periodically rinse off the mud to see what I've accomplished and what I have yet to do. It's obvious that when the jade is covered with mud, I can see very little of what I'm doing. Since I designed and carved the pendant, I'm familiar with it and can do a lot of the work by feel. I keep the jade moving and sand in different directions to cut evenly and smoothly. I continually add more mud and often hold a finger on top of the tool to catch the mud and reapply it to the tool. If the tool runs dry, it doesn't cut. I'm spending a lot of time trying to line the flutes up perfectly with the rounded lobes of the edge. The flutes should also be nicely hemispherical at the outside and taper smoothly as they take aim at the suspension hole. In addition, the ridges where the flutes meet should be straight or gently curved. In this clip, I'm beginning to round the edge of the pendant with a plastic tool the size and shape of a sewing machine bobbin. Brass, copper, plastic, and wood put fewer scratches in the jade at this fine sanding stage than steel does. The pendant varies in thickness, so the rounded groove in the tool doesn't fit everywhere, but it does a good job of sanding a lot of the rounded edge. The square-edged wheel I'm using here can reach into areas that the previous tool couldn't. It's continuing the job of rounding the lobes. It's very important to me that these have a nice, full, rounded appearance. While I was working with it, this tool started making a lot of noise. When I stopped it and rinsed the mud off, I could see that the edge was a series of small facets. Certain types of harmonic vibrations can cause this. When I trued the wheel up with a file and started working again, it came right back to the same bumping. If it does that again, it's headed for the wastebasket. Now that I've got the edge well rounded, I'm going back to working on the flutes. The steel ball tool did a very good job of truing them up, but left a somewhat scratchy surface with tool marks I didn't like. This hardwood ball tool is the same size as the steel tool and is used with the same 600 grit abrasive, but it creates a much smoother surface with fewer harsh scratches. I discovered years ago that the relative hardness or softness of the tool pushing the grit makes a huge difference. I shaped the holes in my pendants with tapered diamond reamers so that they have a biconical or hourglass contour. Here I'm sanding the inside of the hole. My aim is to have the hole finished just as well as the rest of the carving. I'm using a round-edged wheel to sand and refine the groove for the cord and the saddle for the knot at the top of the pendant. The groove and saddle create a more compact and tailored looking necklace. The cord sits neatly in the groove, the knot stays tight, and the bead isn't too high above the pendant. All of these fine points are important to me. This hard plastic tool is worked to a very sharp edge to reach completely into the bottom of the grooves between the rounded lobes. I'm aiming for very crisp definition here where these surfaces meet. If I'm successful, the design and execution of this pendant will create a counterpoint or dance of rounded convex surfaces and flowing concave surfaces with sharp divisions between them. This will be the last step before final hand sanding with shaped abrasive slipstones and further work to create a glowing satin finish. So here's the pendant I've been working on in this video. At this point it does look dry. The final soft, lustrous finish will require further handwork. It will then be signed and dated and paired with a gemstone bead and silk cord. And we'll close with some similar pieces in their finished state. Thank you so much for watching.